I moved in my mind, but I didn't say that I moved.
Okay, being 7 o'clock, I'd like to call to order the regular council meeting of the Township of McNabb Braeside for December 7th, 2021. Are there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Councillor Jacob.
I would like to disclose a matter of pecuniary interest in relation to item 14.1, bylaw 2021-82, as a full-time staff member of the town of Iron Fire.
Thank you. Any others, declarations? Seeing none, are there any changes, alterations to the agenda, Ms. Lee?
Nope.
No, okay, and I need a mover and seconder for the adoption of the agenda as presented. Councillor Broom, Councillor Jacob. All in favor? Carried, thank you. I'm going to turn this part of the meeting over to Deputy Mayor Armston for planning matters. Item 4 through to item 4.5. Deputy Mayor Armston, please.
Thank you, sir. Can I have a mover and seconder, please, for 4.1 McIntosh and Perry draft plan of approval extension request? Councillor Jacob, Councillor Broom. So we've got a request for extension on this. Anybody have any additional details that are pertinent? Any issues why we should not? Or reasons why we should not? All right, then, all in favor of the recommend, oh, Mayor Peckett?
I think just for public clarification, and please correct me, Ms. Lee, if I'm wrong. I believe this is the former Van Order property. Is that correct? It has now been purchased by Tomlinson.
That's correct.
Thank you. So that's a development that's going on in the township of McNabb Braeside that has now been taken over by Tomlinson from their office in Ottawa. So they're just coming on board. I think they need a little time to get everything in order, and feel confident that we should be allowing a 1-year extension to this development. As I think most of the council knows, I'm not one to allow many extensions for projects. I like to see them move forward, but I think in this case, a 1-year extension is warranted. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any strong objections? All in favor of the recommendation? Carried. Mover and seconder, please, for 4.2 minor variance application. Jason and Catherine Apt. Councillor Lang, Councillor Broom. Bruce, anything to add beyond what's in your report on this one?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I don't. So when we reviewed it versus the official plan policies, there were some, in support of the minor variance application, they did submit a aggregate impact assessment, but the aggregate impact assessment didn't address all the issues that were pertinent. And in addition, probably the biggest concern is they had put forward an argument or a rationalization that the aggregate shouldn't be protected because it's too small to ever be extracted. But then to come to that conclusion, the report put a 120-meter buffer along Waba Creek, which is at the very back, saying, if you took out the 120 meters from Waba Creek, then it's such a small area you couldn't extract. But there's no reason to put 120 meter setback there. There's not that buffer with our requirement. So it was sort of, the justification was flawed in our opinion. So our recommendation is that the application be held in abeyance at this time, and that the applicant, their consultants come back with a revised report addressing the official plan policies that we highlighted that needed to be addressed, and potentially there's some other options there for them to look at as well. But so at this time, the recommendation is that the minor variance be held in abeyance.
Thank you very much, sir. Any questions or comments from council? Before we go any further, Mr. Mayor, usually we have an opportunity for public questions at the end of the meeting. Would it be out of line for me to suggest that maybe at the end of the planning or section 4 that we allow people the opportunity to ask planning related questions before moving on, or would you rather we hold off until the end for that?
My opinion would be that as this is combined with the regular council meeting now, but it's actually a separate conversation. I would think that the should allow the people to ask their questions at this point. Otherwise, they would be stuck through the entire council meeting. And I know how stimulating and interesting the council meetings are, but especially this time of the year, people have other things they want to do. So my opinion would be that that we allow the public to ask questions on these planning reports at this time.
Okay, thank you, sir. We're on the same page. Any questions or comments from council on this application? Again, the recommendation being the minor variance application be held in abeyance. Is there anybody from the applicant's side that wishes to speak to this before we make a final decision on this?
Nobody has their hand up.
Okay. All in favor, all council members in favor of the recommendation? Carried. Mover and seconder, please, for item 4.3, consent application, Gervais. Councillor Broome, Councillor Lang. Bruce, anything to add beyond your recommendation on this one?
No, so the recommendation is that the application be approved. We did have a couple of conditions though, just because, at this stage, we don't ask for a plan of survey yet. We wait until after it's draft approved before the survey be done, but there are existing buildings and septic systems that are pretty close to where that new line would be. So the request is that before the final survey be done, that a draft be prepared that confirms the distance, the separation, the setbacks from the dwelling and the nearest accessory buildings from those lot lines. So just so that we can make sure that it does meet any zoning requirements. And if it doesn't meet any zoning bylaw or zoning requirements, then they would need to get relief from that, whether it's a zoning amendment or a minor variance, but they could very well meet it as well. So then those applications wouldn't be required. It was just close. So the condition was requesting that draft survey first, preceding the registered one, just so that we can confirm, and also that the township confirm that the existing septic system on the retained lands lot has been moved and meets setback requirements as well to that interior side lot line. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I don't suppose that we have comments back from the county or from the township's septic inspector at the moment. I'll take that as a no.
I believe, so I believe those comments were from the
Oh, my
chief
bad.
building official. Some of those did come from Chris, I believe, that he just wanted to make sure that those were taken care of. And so that's what I think the condition achieves that. If that were to be, but making sure that draft survey was done first would confirm all those items.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. Would the applicant, I assume it's Nicholas Gervais, be on the line to ask any questions or provide any comments?
I still have nobody with their hands up.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, for council members then, all in favor of the recommendation? Carried. I'll group 4.4 and 4.5 together, if you don't mind. It's the same application. Mover and seconder, please, for 4.4, 4.5 consent application, Wallace. Councillor Jacob, Councillor Broom. Bruce, anything to add on this one? Oh, before we go, just, and again, officially, if we could just note that we have the correct address and everything on, you know, the agenda, so that, oh, jeepers, I forget his name. The gentleman that wrote to the mayor about the address being incorrect. We just want to make sure that we don't have any slip ups, that's all right, so. Almost called you councillor. Mayor Peckett, sir.
Thank you, Chair. There was a typo on the application that came back to us stating that the address was 482 Bellamy Road, which is incorrect. The actual property, the description, legal description of the property in the report is correct, but there's actually no civic number for that property at this time. It's just vacant land and there hasn't been one assigned to it, but this was brought to my attention by Mr. Zebarth, and I think he also contacted the county on this. So just to assure Mr. Zebarth that it has been corrected and the improper address will be taken off of the report when it goes through. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Bruce, any comments above and beyond what's in your report here?
No, I don't, Mr. Chair. So the application is to create 2 new residential lots along Bellamy Road there. They are currently, everything is vacant, so this would create 2 building lots. And it's recommended that the applications be approved. There are 2 conditions. One, again, asking for proceed by a draft survey before it's being finalized, and then also a rezoning amendment is required to change the zone from a rural residential exception 2 zone to just a plain rural residential zone. And that's mainly because the RRE2 zone permits a farm, and the new lots are going to be of a size that are going to be too small to permit any type of livestock or farm use on those properties. So there's recommendation is to approve the application subject to those 2 conditions. Thank you.
Excellent, sir. Any questions or comments from members of council? Any questions or comments from the applicant or someone representing the applicant? Okay, council members, all in favor of the recommendation? Carried, and that would be for 4.4 and 4.5, just for the record. And I will turn the chair back over to the mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and we'll continue on item 5 under delegations. 5.1, the Salk Senior Active Living Center presentation for 2021. And I would need a mover and seconder to get this on the floor. Councillor Broom, Councillor Lang, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And we have someone here from Salk this evening.
Yes, I'm here. It's Judy Kobus and Janice Marks as well from ARPA Regional Health. I'm only connected by audio, so I'm not sure how to share my screen.
And it's Janice Marks. I'm here as well.
Hi there. Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen to a PowerPoint presentation. Can everybody see that PowerPoint?
It's coming.
not yet.
Lindsay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. If you can't get the share screen to work, everybody on council has a copy of the presentation if you want to just speak to it.
Sorry, my computer seems to be revving up high and then it slows down and then it goes black. So I'm going to try this again. Go. I don't know if maybe the bandwidth or there's something. Okay.
So Judy, we all have a copy of the presentation.
Okay.
I don't know, I think most counselors will have it either on their phone or another computer. If you want to go through the presentation and just, when you want to move on to the next slide, just say next slide, and then we can scroll down as you're going.
Okay. So right now you don't see anything, am I correct?
Correct. How about now? No.
Oops, I wonder if we lost Judy altogether.
Yeah,
Oops.
she just disappeared from my screen.
Yeah, mine as well. Apologies. So maybe I can just jump in. As you all do have the presentation in front of you, the first number of pages really are just a description of the Seniors Active Living Center and all of the various activities. I'm sorry, I don't have the copy of the presentation in front of me. So, but it's been in operation for 3 years now. It's a burgeoning, growing service that has 700 members. And right now we have, I think, if I recall the presentation, about 280 active members who come regularly. And the programs are growing and the uptake is fantastic. And so as part of our annual budget process, we're obviously funded through the LIN and through their programs there. And it requires that the municipal governments that for the areas that we serve also contribute to the operation of the Seniors Active Living Centers. And so from that perspective, we're requesting a continued donation from McNabb Braeside of $10,000 plus $5,000 of in-kind services. And at this point, we're not planning any large improvements or big new programs. We're just looking to stabilize and maintain the programs that we currently have as we continue to respond to the various ups and downs that COVID has brought us, openings, closings, and restrictions on our programs. We're looking to maintain and stabilize the programs that we currently offer. And with Judy on board as our manager of community programs and Dana McCabe as the coordinator, that work has been going very well. So apologies that we can't have a more robust presentation, but I'm happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Well, thank you, Janice. Any questions or comments from members of council? Deputy Mayor Armstrong?
Janice, there's absolutely no reason to apologize. This Salk is something that we're all very proud of in both communities and your organization, and it's serving a purpose that was absent prior to the creation of Salk and much needed. And you and your team and those that were there before you have done an amazing job in bringing it to where it is, and your continued vision to see it going where it will go is amazing. So I'd just like to say thank you for a job well done, and keep it up, keep going, and push the envelope for these people that are using your services that are in so need of it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your support. It makes all the difference to the programs that we can provide. And, just this past year, it meant that we were able to increase the hours and the hourly wage for our staff who work so hard. And so that's just one of the benefits that our small but mighty budget allows.
Any other comments from council members? Hearing none. I'm just going to add that I was involved with Salk right from the beginning, and along with the men's shed. I think it is a tremendous asset to our community. It serves a huge value that has been missing for our seniors for forever. And having the seniors getting out and enjoying themselves, not only the physical activities and stuff, but the mental benefits of being together and doing things is just tremendous. And kudos to all the volunteers that have worked so hard to make this a success. So thanks very much for your presentation. It will be coming forward in our budget deliberations in the next couple of weeks, and we'll go from there. So thanks very much, Janice.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time this evening.
Okay. Okay, there's nothing for 6 and 7. We're on to 8 reports of committee, the fire department surplus vehicle. 8.1, mover and seconder, please. Councillor Broom, Councillor Jacob. Any questions or comments on this? No, all in favor of receiving his information? There is a recommendation. I haven't got it in front of me. All in favor of the recommendation? Carried, thank you. I'll try and catch up with my other computer here. Okay, the next one is bylaw enforcement 8.2. The recommendation is that council accept the bylaw enforcement report for the month of October 2021 as submitted by MLES as information. Mover and seconder, Councillor Broom, Councillor Jacob. Questions or comments? All in favor of the recommendation? Carried, thank you. Item 3, corporate rebranding. There is a recommendation that council award the consultant services scope of work to McLaughlin Designs to provide various deliverables related to the corporate rebranding project approved in the 2021 capital budget. Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, Councillor Lang. Questions or comments? All in favor of the recommendation? Carried, thank you. Um, 8.4, the building septic department report for September, October. Recommendation of the council accept the building septic department report for the months of September and October 2021 as submitted and circulated. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Brown, Councillor Jacob. Questions or comments? Looks like a fairly successful year again this year as far as new bills of that are going. Should be approximately the same amount as in 2020. So we're still moving forward in the township. All in favor of the recommendation? Carried, thank you. 8.5, insurance renewal. There's a recommendation that council accept the insurance renewal 2022 report as information as submitted and circulated. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Lang, Deputy Mayor Armstrong. Questions, comments? Price of everything is going up and up and up. Ms. Kelly. Ms. Coughlin, please. Sorry, my apologies.
That works too. The only thing I did want to add is in the report, I identified that our existing insured had lost the market on the cyber insurance. And as many of you probably know and have heard, cyber insurance is a real problem for the municipal sector and in many sectors. We did make an application to one of the service providers they found, and unfortunately our application was declined. We've since reached out to our IT support to get quotations on some of the features that the insured was looking for us to have in place. So I'm waiting for that information. I was told I'd get it possibly by the end of the week. And then we'd have to make a new application back with that same service provider and hope that we can get coverage. Again, at this point, I have no idea what even the rates are going to be associated with that. So it's definitely troubling because it's such an important coverage to have. But I just wanted council to be aware of that extra little bit of information.
Thank you. Comments, questions? Councillor Lang.
To the treasurer through you, Mayor Peckett. So I presume that other municipalities are having the same issue. So given that is the case, I mean, is there nothing that AMO or whatever can do? I mean, this insurance is vital for municipalities. I'm just wondering what are the plans in place for, supporting municipalities and getting this kind of coverage? Any idea?
We haven't taken that step yet to try to reach out to AMO or that. I do know, or I can say that on the insurance side of it, one of the things that we will be looking at in the new year, probably late spring, part of the leg recommendation, there were different areas of trying to kind of group together and do group purchasing or what have you. And one of the items that we do plan on looking at is a joint RFP, so to speak, for insurance, and hoping that, as kind of like a bulk purchase type of thing. Now, recognizing that, there still would be individual plans, but hopefully with, that larger bulk purchasing, that we might have some stronger legs to kind of stand on. The two requests that were included were identified and as a rationale for the decline in our application. Again, I don't begin to say that I'm any kind of an IT expert, but they didn't seem to be extraordinary requests as far as different scans and things that they wanted to see in place. So I'm as I said, I'm waiting for pricing back from our IT supporter, and I'm hopeful that once we have those two protocols in place, that is going to allow us to then at least get some kind of coverage. But it's definitely, as you said, like this is a municipal wide issue. And it might require, some heavy duty lobbying of higher up provincial legislation to assist the municipalities in trying to get coverage.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering if there's any use contacting the county to see what they have for insurance, or maybe the lay group should make application or make a request of the county to look at that, providing an umbrella for all 17 municipalities within the county, and which could bring even a better rate or price for the coverage.
Yeah.
And
The group, sorry?
I know there's other communities up in the north end of Renfrew County that are sort of grouped together as well. So maybe this is something that the county could look at as part of the service umbrella that encompasses other things that they look after for all the municipalities in the township.
Yeah, again, that would be something that I guess we can look at that as a possible option, depending on what comes back on the quotations and trying to get coverage. And then that's when we'll really have to start exploring other options to see, or again, because I did reach out to our local broker to try to get a better understanding of what exactly they wanted to see. They did identify, as I said, a couple of protocols. So I reached out immediately to our IT support. They're not, they were familiar with them. So it's not like it was something out of maybe the ordinary, or maybe they're just seeing more of these type of requests in order to get that kind of coverage. So anyways, I'm hopeful that our application we will be successful, and we're going to continue to work with our IT's provider and our insurance company to see what we can do to get that coverage in place.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Broom?
Through you to Ms. Coughlin. So our insurance went up 15.6%, even though they're not insuring cyber anymore. Is that correct?
Yes, that is. The biggest bulk of the increase is related to vehicles, is where the bulk of the increases is being seen again.
Okay. Thank you.
The cost of vehicles and the cost of repairs to vehicles has become ridiculous. And insurance companies, this is a one time, they're not in business to lose money, but I don't know where it's going to end. Any other comments? All in favor of the recommendation? Carried, thank you. November 2021 financial overview. The recommendation is that council I haven't asked for a mover or second. Councillor Broom, did you have a comment? The council recommendation, the council received the November 2021 financial overview report as information is submitted and circulated. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Jacob, Councillor Lang. Ms. Colvin, do you have any comments?
No, just that, we did have our regular outlays of cash during the month. There weren't any real notable receipts of revenue during the month of November. We did finally receive the final amount that was due for the town of Arnprior recreation agreement. As we saw in 2020, we saw the same thing again in 2021, where the total amount that was originally due for the recreation agreement was offset by a credit to recognize a reduction in services as a result of COVID closures. So once we received that amount, then we submitted that payment. We also sent in the payment for the Arnprior library agreement for 2021, although we're still in discussions with the group. And then just some other regular remittances related to engineering services for different projects we have going on.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
Thank you, sir. Just in a world of constant negativity, I always try to bring some positive thoughts to conversations when the opportunity arises, and I'd just like to tag on a little bit more with the town of Arnprior and the recreation agreement, and the fact that they did in fact issue a credit to us for services that were not available to our residents as part of the recreation agreement. It shows that the two communities are once again working together extremely well for the benefit of both municipalities. So kudos to them for offering that to us without us asking. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Any other comments? All in favor of the recommendation? It's carried. Thank you. Item 9, information items. There's a letter there from Norma Moore and a response from our CAO. questions or comments? Councillor Jacob?
Just a question through you to the CAO clerk. In relation to your response, there was a note that the township may be required to receive a copy of the annual compliance report. Would it be possible for us to request this document just so that we can have it for public information for our residents?
Ms. Lee?
Two things. I need a mover and seconder.
For staff direction?
Note to discuss this item.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Lang and Councillor Jacob. All in favor? No, okay. Go ahead.
And I believe we can ask for it. We've never asked for them before because we really have no say over any of this. If a member of the public has a concern about it, it is supposed to go directly to the ministry, not to us. So we can try and get one.
Maybe we could just ask the ministry for an update or any concerns or information that they would like to pass on to us. Any other comments on this letter? So all in favor of the staff direction to request some information from the ministry? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. No motions under item 11, unfinished business, Sleepy Hollow Road. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Lang, Deputy Mayor Armstrong. I'll ask the Deputy Mayor, I think, has been doing some work on this. Oh, let's see, Miss Lee first.
So the deputy mayor did get the response that we needed back, or that we had wanted to get back. I guess I'm just looking for more specific direction. While we can block the road the way we have to not allow vehicles on there, we need to know, staff needs to know if we want to post signs that we don't want motorized vehicles to access the trail. An open road allowance. Half of our unopened road allowances have signs saying no motorized vehicles and half don't. So the public works just wants to know if we're going to allow people on there, do we need to then change the gates so that four-wheelers and snowmobiles can get through there, or do we want it left the way it is so that people can just walk on it and still leave the gates across so that actual like trucks and vehicles cannot get through there to dump, which is my understanding of what the issue was initially.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, please.
I'd leave it the way it is, personally, and see what happens next. The two homeowners or landowners, sorry, expressed a desire to leave the gates the way they are. And understanding that in similar circumstances elsewhere in the municipality, that people have found a way to still use the road, despite the fact there is a gate there, obviously without large vehicles. But the concern was that people walking on the road or riding horseback on the road or driving a four-wheeler on the road were no longer able to use it. Cannon Road, people that use it still seem to have found a way to use it that hasn't had an adverse effect to the landowners. I would suggest us leaving it the way it is and monitor the situation and see what happens. And if we need to take further action, then do it. That would be my recommendation.
So, Councillor Jacob.
Just a question through you, Mr. Mayor, to the CAO clerk. Just to confirm, the discussion that you'd like council to have is whether to leave the gate as is or to install a more ATV, snowmobile, and other small motorized use-friendly gate to permit that activity.
Yeah, so if we're gonna leave the gate as it is, then we'll need to post signs saying no motorized vehicles like we have in other locations. But unopened road allowances, people can use, they just can't alter, right? So we just need to know what we want to do with our unopened road allowances and make it more of a kind of across, like, what do we want to do? Do we want to allow it here or not allow it here and just have walking on there? Or post a sign saying what? I don't know.
Supplementary, Councillor Jacob.
Personally, I understand where the deputy mayor is coming from. I think looking into the installation of more ATV and snowmobile friendly gates, given that that was the issue raised by the residents who opposed gating that stretch of unopened road allowance in the first place, would probably be the best alternative at this point to permit that use. However, I would want to see the potential cost associated with that, knowing that council as a whole included ATV friendly gates or ATV prohibitive gates on the CN Trail a number of years ago. And it would be important for us to consider that before making that final decision.
So is there a way for ATVs and snowmobiles to get around the existing gate?
I'm told no, unless they go onto the private property, because they'd have to go around them.
Okay.
So in fairness, I've never been up there. I'm just going by what I'm told, but right now, no.
So the whole reason for the discussion on allowing ATVs and snowmobiles was in fact safety of having those vehicles get down the mountain without going down the White Lake Road.
Yep.
So I'm of a mind that I know that Cannon Road or Canaan Road, people get in around those gates that are there. And I know that we have the gates up on the CN Trail, and the one I'm very familiar with is located at the crossing of Campbell Drive. And there's supposed to be no ATVs on that trail, but there certainly is plenty of them because they have ruts worn through the entranceway, which was meant for people to walk. I'm not sure where to go with this. I've been trying to think of another way down the mountain, which could get down to the mountain, and the only way I can see is that like down through Waba and the back roads that lead down to the foot of the mountain and come out at on Robertson Road there. For me personally, I need some more discussion on this because I'm leaning towards having the ATVs and snowmobiles allowed on Sleepy Hollow Road, and a sign there stating that anyone leaving the unopened road allowance on an ATV or snowmobile or littering, which is big problem from before, but that was mainly from trucks and that. That there would only be one warning. And after the one, if it happened again, then the access to the ATVs and snowmobiles would be shut off. So it would be up to the ATV drivers and snowmobile operators to basically police themselves and or clean up after others that don't abide by the rules to make sure that access is maintained for them. But I'm not ready to make a decision on this tonight. And I would, for me, I would, and this is up to council. If council wants to go ahead and vote on it tonight, you can, but I'd like to have it moved to the 21st meeting. I need to have some more information or more discussion. Any other comments? Deputy Mayor Armstrong?
Well, I thought Councillor Broom had his hand up first, and I've already spoken, so.
Councillor
Go
Broom?
ahead.
I actually agree with you, Mayor. So if you wanted to put that into a motion tonight, I would second it.
Well, I don't think it's.
I know you.
Requires a motion. It just, well, it might require a motion to defer this item to the 21st meeting. Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
I defer to the spring personally. We're probably not going to know more in 2 weeks than we know now. The issue, you're right, sir. The issue was that the comments that came in saying you've gated the road, I go down that road all the time, and now I can't. And you're forcing me to go to the White Lake Road, which is dangerous. That's one side. The opposite side is I hardly see any traffic going up and down the road. So somewhere in the middle is the reality. It's either hardly any or all kinds. So my suggestion is wait, see what the reality is, see if there is an issue, see if there isn't an issue. If there's no issue, then we just do nothing, which is what I do best. If there is an issue, then we could take action. But I think it's premature to take action when we really don't know the size and scale of the issue at hand. It could be nothing. And then in which case we don't need to do anything. If it is an issue, then we can address it.
Okay. Other comments? So the deputy mayor is suggesting that Councillor Jacob.
I just wanted to say that I would also support deferring it to the December 21st meeting to get more information, particularly the cost of ATV friendly gates. And
So your connection, Councillor Jacob, is kind of wonky. Your voice is gargled. I think I heard that you're saying you're supporting moving it to the December 21st meeting. Is that correct?
yes, it is.
Thank you. Okay, well, I still would like some time to give it more thought, Deputy Mayor, and have more discussion on it with some people, and we can bring it back to the 21st meeting and deal with it in whichever way council decides to go at that point. Okay. Any other questions or comments? So I need a mover and seconder to defer item 11.1 to the December 21st council meeting. Councillor Broom, Councillor Jacob, all in favor? Carried, thank you. We're on to item 12. A letter from Karen Dodds. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Lang, Councillor Broom. The letter is about changing the name of Kirby Street in McNabb, Braeside Township. I think you've all had a chance to read. Is there anyone that has not read the letter? Okay, so comments or questions? Councillor Jacob.
Personally, I don't necessarily see an issue with the request. The one question I would have is through you to the CAO. I do understand we have a road naming or an asset naming policy. In terms of that policy, how would it suggest that we move forward? In the past, I know we've done public surveys and that kind of thing, but would that be warranted in this instance?
So just to clarify your question, are you asking how we would rename the road? It would just have to be, yes, okay. It would be just the next one that's already approved by the county on our list of, I've lost the word, veterans that we have already approved.
Thank you.
Councillor Broom and then Councillor Lang.
So long as everybody realizes that, you know, our address was changed here at the house 11 years ago and I'm still having issues. So it's not an easy situation. And like I say, 11 years later, we technically have 3 addresses that come to my house. So it's a big thing. If everybody's in agreement, I don't see an issue with it. But there could be opening up a big can of worms changing the address.
Councillor Lang, please.
Yes, so actually Karen Dodds had messaged me a while ago about this matter, and I recommended that she bring this request to council, and I'm glad she has done that. I can understand fully well the sentiments of these residents in the area about the name of the street, and coincidentally, the former archivist, Lori Doherty, sent me an email just on Friday and mentioned that she would like to see this this street name changed as well. So she's not a resident of this particular area, but she does live, you know, down Osborne Road further towards Arn Prior. Anyway, I can understand the sentiment, and I am pleased that Ms. Dawes did go to the effort of bringing this to her attention.
Any other comments? So I'm going to caution council here in that you're changing a name of a roadway because of a particular person. There are many other people, some residing in the township with that name Kirby. And I'm not so sure that in doing something like this, that we're not slighting the other folks. And we may be setting ourselves up for a rash of requests for name changes. As you have seen recently in the news and stuff, the name changes of many institutions around the country and places. I would be very cautious here, and I'm not so sure I would do anything until I have had legal advice on this, because if my last name was Kirby and you're changing the name of a street because of someone else, like, I don't believe the street was named after that particular person. It was probably named after somebody by the name of Kirby from many decades ago. Perhaps somebody in the archives might know that, or however it got to be named that way. So and again, I'm sorry about being hesitant about things this evening. I know I like to get things done, but I'm not prepared to support this as much as I think the Codys are great people, been longtime residents of the township, have great family. You know, the suggestion to name it after them is great, but we do have the naming policy that we passed, so that wouldn't happen. So that's where I stand. I'm not prepared to vote in favor of this, but and I will ask for a recorded vote if it goes forward. Councillor Lang, please.
Just to clarify, they do indicate in this petition, if you want to call it a petition, that they, you know, Kirby Street may not be named after this particular individual. So I just want to clarify that there is a recognition that it's not necessarily named after the person that we're talking about.
Deputy Mayor Armstrong.
I think this is another situation where we do nothing. I was thinking the same thing or similar things, Mr. Mayor. The street was not named after the individual in question. The situation will eventually be out of the limelight as it is now. Of course, it's in the news now, and it will be for the foreseeable future. But eventually, the story will go away. And I agree that what you are referring to, sir, is the other Kilbys could take offense to this. One could argue that the first name in our township could be called into question as well for the practices that individual had. And so when we look back at history, we can, or the global we, or individuals could pick apart the names of many of the people in this township for past practices. And I don't think that we want to open ourselves to those conversations at the moment. Like I said, Archibald McNabb probably wasn't the nicest guy in the world, and probably did a lot of things that wouldn't be deemed acceptable in modern society. So our name itself could fall under that conversation, and I don't think we should be doing that. And I think we should just let this matter rest.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Jacob.
I just quickly pulled up our commemorative naming policy, and it does actually have a section about renaming. And it states that the need for public input is required. So if council was desiring to put forward the name change, I would suggest that we do some form of public engagement for residents outside of this area as well, which would touch on, Mr. Mayor, your comments about other Kirby's in the community, as well as the broader residents of McNabb side.
Thank you. Any other comments? So, waiting for a motion from council member on the letter. I know Deputy Mayor Armstrong, you're going to make a motion to do nothing with the letter? Or is Councillor Jacob, are you going to make a motion to move forward with changing the name? Or because if I make a motion, it's going to be to leave it as is, because I'm not comfortable doing what is being suggested here.
Well, if you're looking for me, sir, I'm certainly not in agreement of changing the name of the street. I understand sentiment, but I'm not in agreement of changing the name.
Councillor Jacob, you had your hand up?
It may also be worthwhile perhaps to reach out to the applicant to let them know that their proposed name change wouldn't be possible based on the township's commemorative naming policy, and that it would default to a veteran on the list, and perhaps sharing that with them, they may elect a different option. And at that point, council could then make a decision if it wishes to move forward on that or not, if the applicant does.
Well, then you're frozen up, Councillor Jacob.
Essentially, I was just saying that perhaps the applicant, in understanding that Cody Lane is not possible as the new name of the street, may not wish to proceed. So we should give them that option and bring it back to council in the future.
If I read between the lines of the letter, my assumption would be they would be willing to change the name of the street to anything other than what it is. That's my take on reading this letter, especially the last paragraph. So if there's no more comments, then Deputy Mayor, you bring in forward a motion to leave it as is?
Well, I guess I would just have a question. Do we need to do anything with it? It's a request made, but does that mean that we have to act on it, or can we just receive it as information?
Ms. Lee?
I don't know. I'm looking for the sort of the procedural side of this.
Well, I mean, you can give staff direction to tell us to write a letter and say, thanks, we've accepted as information. But I feel like it'll probably just come back anyways, looking for a response. I mean, it's important to understand too, that there's, I mean, street signs and everything. I mean, there's costs involved that will affect more than just the people that live on that street. So.
Well, if we need something official, then I'll put a motion forward to say that we should not proceed.
Do I have a seconder? And I'll second it. I'll call for the vote. All in favor of not proceeding with the name change, with including staff direction to send information back to John and Karen Dodds as to our decision. And
Sir, if I could just say, just
Perhaps.
to add, if they wanted to reach out, I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with them as well.
Yeah. I would too. Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of the recommendation? It's carried. Thank you. Okay, I guess is this where we lose Counselor Jacob? Yep.
You know how to get them back.
Well, I think Lindsay's put him in the waiting room. Okay, we're down to 14.1 bylaws. There's bylaw 2021-82 recreation joint agreement with town of Arnprior amendment. Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Armson, Councillor Lang. Questions, comments? No. None? All in favor of the bylaw?
Sir, just a sec, sir.
Yes?
I think Ms. Coughlin had her hand up.
Okay, Ms. Cogman, please.
I was just going to give council just a little brief overview of some of the changes that have been incorporated into this agreement. So the biggest change is the fact that the base operating budget that is the foundation of this agreement has been reset to 2019 as opposed to 2016, which was the original agreement. And they've also incorporated a 2% annual operating cap over the course of this agreement. And the weighting factors still remain the same. But whenever Statistics Canada population data becomes available, then the committee will, possibly look at if there's any adjustments needed in the weighting. But the base operating was the biggest component in this agreement that changed.
Any comments? I think one of the key things in this, and the way it's set up now is going to be when we get the information from our census. Does anyone have any idea when we could get that information? I know Ms. Coughlin, you and I talked about it. I can't remember what you had said to me, whether it's 6 months, a year, or.
I honestly, I'm not sure when that data is scheduled to come out. I would think it'd be coming out any time now, but I haven't seen anything.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Broom, please.
Ironically enough, sir, I just read a snippet about this yesterday, and MPAC has put it off for 1 year.
The census,
This is the census.
impact.
Or yeah, it was 6 months to a year, because the MPAC was a year, definitely, I know that, and I believe the census was a year also.
Okay,
I'll try to find that thing and I'll send it to you.
thank you. Deputy Mayor Armson.
I was just going to say, the skeleton of this deal is for the most part the same as it was before. There have been tweaks around the fringes of it with respect to population data, but the bones that have been the part of this from the outset. Sorry, that's my dog. I mean.
So did the dog finish talking for you, or?
So, yeah, sorry, my 12-year-old lab is a very loud drinker. My apologies. So yeah, you know, really, there have been tweaks around the edges of this deal, but this is what the majority of us got voted in for in the first place, and not a lot of it has changed, other than some of the population data has gone up and down. But that was the whole. That was one of the great things about the deal from the outset, was that if and when population changed in either municipality, that so too would the contributions. So. You know, it's been a great deal for the last however many years it's been in place, and you know, the skeleton of it is still there to be a great deal moving forward.
Thank you, Councillor Lang, please.
Thank you for that comic relief, Deputy Mayor Armstrong. But in number 5.2, is there an error? Because it mentions the public library. This is the recreation agreement. And that confuses me. That's on the second page. The township and the town further covenant and agree that during the term and any extended term, the cost to the town for the implementation of additional and/or a reduction of programs or service levels for the public library.
Ms. Coglan?
I believe that's just a typo. I think that should be for the recreation agreement. That's just simply a typo.
Yeah, I just thought it should
And-
be, I should, you know, specify, we should correct that before. we pass this.
My apologies, we were provided with this template from Arm prior, and my apologies that I didn't catch that.
Thank you. Any other comments on the recreation joint use agreement bylaw? All in favor of the bylaw? Carried, thank you. 14. Can we bring Councillor Jacob back? There he is. So 14.2 bylaw 2021-83 authorized agreement with MLES. That's our bylaw enforcement people. Is there someone wanting to speak on this? Ms. Lee, is this an increase of our payments, or what's, I know I read through it, but did I see somewhere where it said it's basically the same as 2021 for 2022?
It's the same as it's been for the last 8 years, actually. And then as of 2023, they're going to be asking for a 2% COLA increase.
Okay. Questions or comments on this bylaw? All in favor? Carried, thank you. 14.3. There's actually is there two things combined into one here, Ms. Lee, or is it just all the same one, only come out in two different ways? I'll just read the whole thing. Bylaw 2021-84, site plan agreement authorization, lot 27, Ferguson Minkus. Bylaw 2021-84 site plan agreement, lot 2749M 104. Brackets 125921485. Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Armstrong, Councillor Broom, questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the bylaw? Carried, thank you. Any questions from the public?
I'm just gonna give it a second because there's no hands up right now, but there's a chat comment sent, so I don't know if they want to speak to that now that they have the opportunity.
Councillor Broom?
I had misspoke, sir, but I did find that February 9th, 2022 will be the start of the rollout of the census.
Thank you.
So Mandy, can you allow him to be moved over, please? Thank you.
Hello.
Good evening, Jim.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm back about Sleepy Hollow Road again. I'm trying to get the gates opened up. There's really no reason. It was the litter problem. We talked about putting signs up last time at the beginning of each end of that part of the roadway to fine or whatever for people who litter, why we're not looking at taking them steps first before ever trying to close off a road to everybody doesn't make sense to me at all. Now, part of that road is owned by Mrs. Robillard, and she obviously has no problem because she had the gate removed from her property when it was put there. Again, myself included, who uses that road all the time, never came across all the trash or garbage or how much there was. I know we have no pictures of the garbage. We have all we have is two landowners there that basically want their privacy, who said there is or was a bunch of garbage. I have another person who was a part of the landowner back there, who owned it for over 15 years and did not have no problem either with any of the trash bin. Now, I live on Kippen Road, just down from Sleepy Hollow. And on Kippen Road, within 1 kilometer, on the right-hand side, I counted 52 pieces of trash. Now, we go out down here and we pick up that trash along the side of the road there to keep our area clean. We don't have a problem doing that. It's pretty hard to get away from that. It's pretty hard to stop every single person from littering something. You know what I mean? There is no real answer for that. Should we punish everybody for somebody else's who might have dump some garbage? Is that the way we're doing business? If somebody does something wrong, let's make everybody suffer because of it.
Well, I can respond to a couple of things there.
Okay.
Littering is rampant throughout the township, as you've just described.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, including myself and especially my wife, continuously pick up garbage when we're out walking the dog or anything. Even along in front of my own home and across the road from my own home, we pick up litter every other day. I'm not saying that a lot of people, well, and I'll go back to when the roadway was open. There are open roadways through the back of where I live. And for years, people have been dumping old pieces of metal or junk, refrigerators, tires, garbage, what have you. And there is a littering law that you can get fined for it, but you actually have to see the person doing it. So you know how that works. It just doesn't. It's not a solution. So we're not punishing a few people on this. The people who litter are punishing the taxpayers. All the taxpayers, because it costs money to have people from the township staff cleaning the ditches and picking up, believe it or not, just a short time ago, we picked up a complete toilet just sat on the side of the road. And, tires and different things that our staff pick up and remove. And that costs the taxpayers money. So it's not that we're punishing a few. The people doing the littering are punishing everybody, because it just keeps driving the cost of keeping our township clean up. So that's the thing. The main thing was for, I guess, pickup trucks or other trucks going in and dumping off garbage, or in one particular instance that was deer hides and legs and carcasses and stuff like that, which just attracts other wildlife. But that was one of the main complaints. I don't, well, I can, even if you go down the Algonquin Trail now, which has been opened up for snowmobilers and ATVers and walkers and cyclists and everything, there is starting to be litter all along the trail. And for me, it's just disgusting. And that's going to cost money, because the county people will send folks down there to clean that up. And believe me, that costs a lot of money to have that done. So I'm one in the township here. I hate littering. So should the roadway be opened back up, there's no way to, you're right, Jim, there's no way to prevent littering. But if the ATVers and snowmobilers who are using the access properly will have to police themselves. In other words, make sure that others don't be wandering off down trails with their ATVs onto people's property. We'll try and get them to put up no trespassing signs, but even that doesn't help in a lot of cases. So that's what I mean by the ATVers and snowmobilers, that should they have access to that road, unopened road allowance, taking on the responsibility of making sure that that people using it behave themselves by staying on the road allowance and not throwing their garbage out and not wandering off in through the bush with their machines onto private property. So I hope that sort of helps a little bit, Jim, but as I mentioned earlier, I need to wrap my head around this a little bit more to make some sort of decision. In the back of my mind is the safety thing for the mountain there for ATVers and snowmobilers as well. So it's the decision. It's not just a simple yes or no decision. There has to be, for me anyways, I have to put more thought into it.
Mayor, the other thing is when somebody comes up to that gate who's going to dump garbage and sees that gate, they're not going to take their garbage home. They've already on the run of going to dump that garbage somewhere, maybe the dead end Kippen Road, wherever, but they are still going to do it. That gate just puts them into a different, somebody else's property. That's the problem with litterers. You know what? They have no consideration for anybody else or their property. Unfortunately, we got to live with these. But you know, one thing I can do is I'm a retired person and I'm available 24/7. If litter goes on their property, if they call me, I'll be glad to go help clean it up every time, as long as the gates are open so we can go back and forth. I'm willing to do that. I do the garbage here. I take my child out too and teach them, you know, or her to pick up the garbage. You know what? There are people out there going to keep doing this, but we're going to keep our area clean.
Well, thanks for that, Jim. And you're absolutely right. There's those out there that have no respect for not only their community, but even their own area where they live. There's just no respect for anybody else's property as well. So hopefully we can come to some sort of logical compromise next December 21st meeting.
The signs I really believe would help deter. They'll make people think twice. They don't know if there's cameras, you know what I mean? It can be saying surveillance, you know what? Just anything that would help so that nobody goes down and litters anything on them properties through there. It's only, like I said, it's half of that road. The other half belongs to Mrs. Robillard, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Anyway, I'm in agreement with you with the signs. There has to be signs posted for sure.
I'm really happy to hear that you're not allowing this to get pushed through real fast. You're thinking it through. That's all I have to say. Thank you all for your time.
Thanks, Jim. Have a good evening.
You too now. Bye.
So anybody else, members of public wanting to speak?
No.
No closed meeting. There's a list of the upcoming meetings there, and take note of the special meetings and times.
Hold on. There was no mover and seconder for 14.2. Can I get one, please?
There wasn't?
Nope.
I thought I did. Councillor Broom, Councillor Jacob.
Thank you.
Okay. Confirmatory bylaw, mover and seconder. Councillor Lang, Councillor Broom, all in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, all.